Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, February 11th, and this is Ryan Ferns from the West Virginia State Senate offering my legislative update. And we're going to go back a couple days here. I wasn't able to get in the studio yesterday, so we're going to start with Monday, February 9th, and I'm going to go right on to the floor session. On third reading, we had committee substitute for House Bill 2217, which is relating the qualifications of the Commissioner of Labor. Historically, in the past, in the state of West Virginia, a Commissioner of Labor was required to be someone who was a union representative. And so we're now opening up the qualifications for that position to allow it to include other folks, anyone who has worked in a field related to labor relations and that kind of thing. So that was on third reading and passed. We had a number of other bills. Senate Bill 37, which created the Revised Uniform Arbitration Act. And on second reading, we had Senate Bill 357, which was the Coal Jobs and Safety Act of 2015. That was actually moved to third reading with right to amend. As I've said on here before, all bills on the Senate floor are read on 3 separate days. The second day is typically the day for amendments, and the third day is to vote, except in the case if the bill is moved to third reading with right to amend, which that bill was. We also had Senate Bill 361, which is relating to repeal of prevailing wage, which I know many of you have been interested in. I've had a number of visitors from the Northern Panhandle to my office to talk about that issue. As I've told all of them, I'll tell you that bill was laid over and retaining its place on the calendar. Again, we're talking about this all happened on Monday. And then Monday afternoon, had a meeting with representatives from the governor's office and from the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Resources, just going over healthcare-related legislation that could be coming to our health committee. At 2 o'clock, I was on the Banking Insurance Committee. We had a number of bills, nothing that brought on a high level of debate. We had Senate Bill 368, 373, 313, 365, and 366. And then at 3 o'clock, we had our Judiciary Committee meeting. Again, nothing that was drew a high level of debate. Senate Bill 315, Consumer Protection Act. But all bills were passed out in a relatively timely manner. On Tuesday, February 10th, we started off our morning, as I do every morning, at 7:30 with our Chairman's Caucus. I left there a little bit early in order to run over to our Northern Panhandle Caucus. And this week, for our Northern Panhandle Caucus, we had representatives of the Division of Highways. And I know that, as many of you have mentioned to me, roads are a major concern. I even heard from folks from the city of Wheeling that the number of complaints that they're getting is increasing all the time. The roads just are a major concern to everybody. So we brought the Division of Highways in and just said, where are we at on these specific projects? I've also had mayors from several other cities and towns throughout the Panhandle talking about specific projects. So we got updates on all those, and just to make sure that everything's staying on track and that they're moving along as they should be. 9:45, I was honored to have a visitor from the Oglebay Institute, Erik Janelsins, to talk about the tourism concerns that Oglebay has. In past years, the state of West Virginia has offered funding in order to boost our tourism industry, which is a great benefit to our state. The return on investment is great in that condition. I explained to Erik that I think it's a priority of our Senate President. Once we get our economy in line, get our budget in order, that there's going to be a return to focus on tourism in our state. So. At 10 o'clock, I ran downstairs. We had drug court day here at the legislature, and Judge Gahn from the Northern Panhandle was present and speaking, among many other people, the governor and the Senate President, talking about the initiatives that our state has taken towards the drug court, which is now being implemented on the federal level by our U.S. Attorney. I'm sure many of you saw that in our local news up north, and so just kind of giving encouragement to those folks and recognition for the efforts that they've made over the years. And then at 11 o'clock during our floor session, we again had all those folks on the Senate floor as well. And as I mentioned on Monday, we had moved Senate Bill 357, which is the Coal Jobs and Safety Act, to third reading with right to amend. We had a couple of amendments offered. 2 of them were adopted. 1 was rejected. Ultimately, the bill was passed, and I think it's a great thing. There's been some misinformation about the bill, but the goal of the bill, and we've heard from folks who actually work underground, is to improve the safety and at the same time take some steps to give some relief to the coal industry. Our state has benefited greatly for a number of years from the efforts of those folks who go underground and risk their lives in order to produce affordable energy for our nation. And so I think it's about time that we've done something to return the favor and at a time when they're struggling, do something to help them out. So I think it's going to be a great thing for our state. We also had, as I mentioned, Senate Bill 361 relating to repeal of prevailing wage was laid over yet again another day. The reason we're continuing to lay that bill over is because there's negotiations going on between some of the union representatives and our leadership in the House and the Senate. And so hoping to reach compromise in the very near future that is agreeable to everybody. Then at 1 o'clock on Tuesday, we had our Health and Human Resources Committee meeting. We had two bills on the agenda, and the one that raised the most debate, Senate Bill 348, which created a pilot program for drug screening of cash assistance applicants. Those are welfare recipients. And I've heard comments from numerous folks from throughout the Panhandle that, in the course of daily life, those folks who go out and seek employment often are required to have a drug test in order to receive employment, and so why not apply it to those folks as well? And the idea here is we're starting out with a pilot program because the costs that have been incurred by other states has been pretty dramatic. We're going to start out with a 3-county program, and it doesn't apply to everyone who receives assistance from the state. It'll only be in certain circumstances where suspicion is raised. So if someone had a prior arrest for drug-related arrest, then they might be potential for being drug tested. It'll be a 3 strikes and you're out kind of policy, and so the goal is to identify those folks who are in need of not only of assistance but of treatment for drug abuse, and this is another way to identify those folks. Obviously, the drug abuse problem in our state is becoming worse. It's becoming more of a problem in the Northern Panhandle particularly, and so this gives us a means to reach out to those people and help them get assistance. At 2 o'clock, we had a Government Organization Committee meeting. Had a number of bills on there. Actually, we weren't able to cover all those in the 2 o'clock hour. The committee came back in later on in the day in order to allow Judiciary Committee to meet, which was at 3 o'clock, and we had 2 bills there that had a significant amount of debate. We had Senate Bill 421, which related to punitive damage in civil actions, and Senate Bill 340, which was voter ID. It's commonly known as voter ID. Senate Bill 340 was acted on first. There was a significant amount of debate. We heard from county clerks from around the state who don't feel that this is a problem here in our state, didn't feel that the bill was necessary, and after hearing testimony from a number of individuals, there was a motion to table the bill, and that motion was passed. So for the time being, there's not going to be any more debate on that bill. Senate Bill 421 had, as I mentioned, considerable debate, went on, and Judiciary Committee actually had to reconvene later on in the evening in order to finish that. We still weren't able to finish it. We were going into the near 8:30 in the evening, and so there was a motion to lay the bill over. We'll continue that debate today and hopefully come to a conclusion on it. So that concludes my update for today. Hopefully I'll try to be back here tomorrow morning in order to touch base with you again. Look forward to talking to you. Thank you.